of my friends ever talk to me.
Do they participate in that group?
Some of them do. But not very few of the people who participate in the group have got 1,000 members, and looking at the statistics, I was surprised to find 600 of them actually are actively involved. They look at the posts, but there's only about 10 or so actually tick anything.
How often do y'all meet in your group, or does it work like that?
Well, I regularly post. I'm the only one who ever posts anything.
Could somebody else post if they wanted to?
Yes, anybody can post, but I'm the only one who does.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was in my group. There's ways. I'm active in a couple of other groups, like about UFOs and stuff, and so I'm still trying to, learn the ropes on that. There's this one kid that got with me, and he wanted me to be one of the administrators of his group, and I became that. But I just didn't hear too much from him after that. It was, I don't know how many people were in the group, but it just was, he wasn't running it right or something.
Yeah, well, he wanted you to do it for him, didn't he? That's why he asked you.
Because he wanted, he wanted to be the only one that could approve them, but he wanted me to put in content and get people more activated and stuff like that, because you know how I am, I'm going to act wild and say some crazy shit, and so try to generate some interest,
Suicidal, and he was on drugs and cocaine and stuff, and he's a truck driver. I thought, my God. But now he's vanished.
He may be in jail. But a lot of times those truck drivers, they get all crazy. They got extreme lifestyles. Hell, he might be a serial killer or some shit like that.
There's probably a wife beater.
For sure. Did you ever think about hypnotizing him to kind of rein him in?
Well, he was supposed to be a hypnotist, but I don't think I would want to be hypnotized by him anytime soon.
Yeah. You're hypnotized by a guy who's drinking and snorting cocaine and running around with lot lizards. You know the lot.
Did you see that link I sent you about that radio show?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't have time to look at it before we got on here.
I got that off the page of John Lear, because I'm a friend of his on Facebook now.
Oh, I was watching a John Lear interview just last night.
Yeah, was that the one with Miles?
As a matter of fact, it was.
Which is that actually the John Lear who made the Learjet?
No, it's not.
Not the same look. Not the same John Lear.
It's his son.
Oh, is he?
It is his son.
Okay, well that's pretty close.
Yeah, he's the real deal. He's the real deal. Yeah, I mean, he's everything he's claiming to be. That doesn't mean that everything he says is true, or it's probably true to what he thinks. Did you hear that deal about how he was he almost got killed because the feds withheld his medication?
No, I was. What is the medication for? He's obviously sick or something.
Yeah, well, if that's happening here in the United States, and this is about a year ago, the feds came down on the pill industry of where doctors give these pain pills, and these are some heavy-duty opiates that let people be free from pain. Well, a lot of times when people get on these pills, they become addicted to them and all this stuff, and they were giving like poor people breaks on them and stuff. They quit doing all that. They even started cutting out the rich people, and it was driving up the heroin overdoses. In other words, the people couldn't get the stuff, so maybe they started shooting heroin or something, or people like John Lear just started dying, and then his insurance didn't want to cover him because he had already had a bunch of surgery and stuff, and according to him, they spiked his blood sample with methamphetamine.
Yes.
And he said, of course, that's just ridiculous, that I be on methamphetamine. Of course, that is. I mean, he just doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. But it seemed to be a trick that the insurance company played just to get him to where they didn't have to give him coverage.
Yes.
And so he fought back and did a class action lawsuit. Fucking guns up to John Lear, huh? A bad motherfucker. And now he's got a class action lawsuit going against him.
Yeah, what caused his pain? He's had surgery for what?
Oh, I don't know. He's kind of an older guy, and he doesn't look like he'd really been taking care of himself too much, but I just don't know.
That's a real shame that people are in pain, because as a hypnotist, I can stop the pain.
I know it. That's one of the main things you do, Keith, and that's one thing I want to talk about and reiterate in this very program. And
not just me, but they don't want anyone to know is that people like me can help people cure themselves without surgery. Well, this shoulder of mine, which you can see I've got full rotation of, the hospital said I needed to have surgery done on that because I couldn't move this shoulder, and it was extremely painful, and I needed surgery. I needed a replacement socket here, and until I decided no way was I going to trust the hospital, because they'll kill you in those places.
Oh yeah, harvest your organs.
And I decided to use my mind.
There you go.
I engaged my brain, and I told my brain to fix that socket, and after only a couple of weeks I had full rotation of this shoulder. And now that they don't want you to know that you've got the power to do that.
That's right, they don't, Keith. And let me tell you, it was fascinating what you told me. About the idea or the reality or what you could do possibly with hypnosis, and that is help me with my weight training and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can gain 20% muscle mass just by thinking about getting bigger muscles.
I absolutely agree, Keith. I mean, you've got more practical experience and experiential experience with this, but philosophically, I do agree with you, and so I can't wait to see what I already knows about some of the results you've had with some of your patients, like that lady from America.
Yeah,
you know who I'm talking about, right?
Oh, Kat Bergiani. Have you heard her on my show?
Now, is this a lady that you and me talked to?
Yes.
No.
She's been very ill. She could easily be dead now, but she's not. And she did. I helped her, but she did that herself. Although I helped her.
That's awesome.
I was there to guide her, and she's a miracle.
Yeah, sounds like it. Let me grab my nachos right quick. We gotta have our nachos here. So,
but when I use that word miracle, I use it loosely, because this body we have is the miracle, and what it can do is the miracle, because what she did ought to be an everyday thing. The things that we can do with our body is the miracle.
I agree. The human being is awesome. So we've got a physical body. Well, on this whole ET question, I used to believe, and I'm not saying that I no longer believe, but that's in the nuts and bolts reality of these ETs and their spacecrafts and stuff like that. I'm starting to lean more now towards them being some type of spiritual or interdimensional phenomenon. It's just, I don't know. I can't, I can't just jump on the board on the same ship with everyone else thinking that they're going around in nuts and bolts UFOs. I could be wrong about that, though.
Yeah. So repeat that again. I didn't quite catch it.
In other words, if the aliens, if they're in physical crafts, like made out of metal or something like that, or if it's some type of, interdimensional, like they're made out of light ships or something, made out of just energy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you think?
Because the what I'm discovering, or what I'm realizing more and more is that the structure of everything is pure thought. There is only consciousness was here before everything.
That is fascinating that you bring that up, because I've been thinking along those same lines myself. And this guy, Dr. John Lilly, who created the Lilly wave that they used to entrain people and give mind control and stuff.
Yes.
He said many things along those lines. And so it could be that just by thinking something and believing something, it could actually become true.
Well, that's what happened to my shoulder. This shoulder of mine, I had pain with this shoulder for 12 years before I realised how stupid I was being, because I was helping other people not be in pain all those years. But I put up with the pain in my own shoulder for those 12 years, and I thought, how stupid can I be? It's time I fixed myself.
Mm-hmm. When did you do that?
When?
Yeah. How long ago?
It was 2000. It's 2017 now, isn't it? Nearly 2018. I think I did that. I can't remember for now if it was. God, how time flies! It seems like yesterday, but it must have been, I don't know, end of 2014. I think that was 2000.
It's been about 3 years.
2015, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started by picking up some strong molybdenum magnets and waving those over it a few times, and that gave me immediate pain relief. And I thought, well, that's interesting, because I didn't think that was going to work. And then I thought, I wonder whether that was really the magnets, or whether just wishful thinking. So I thought, well, let's think about it a bit more. And so I did. And the pain was completely gone in over a period of a couple of weeks, and I just kept thinking it better, and it grumbled a bit over a month or two, and I just kept thinking good thoughts and thinking it's getting better and better, and that's what I did. And I sort of wondered a bit about whether the pain, because we think the pains come back in the cold weather, don't we? I sort of wondered whether it would or not, and I just decided, no, that's not going to happen to me, because that's all a wives' tale.
So at first you were using the magnets, and that seemed to help, but then you realized you could just get rid of the magnets and get the same treatment.
Well, I just decided that the magnets was just a crutch. I thought it helps. I thought obviously the magnets have some effect, but I thought that my mind is more powerful than magnets, because the brain gives out more energy than magnets, and the heart gives out hundreds of times more power than the brain. Did you know the heart is more powerful than the brain?
Oh yeah.
So I imagined the power coming from my heart more powerfully. Heart energy.
Okay, well, let me ask you about this. Heart, brain, heart thinking. Does the heart have a mind of its own?
Yes. We have 3 brains that we know of, and that's the heart, the brain, and the gut.
Yeah, I was going to I should have guessed that, because that was going to be my guess, the stomach, or whatever.
Yeah, but what I believe is that we've got 4 brains, because I think that the entire body is a thinking organism, because every single cell in your body is a thinking organism. So I think that all of those all of those cells, I think that thinking capacity combines as one. So I think I think of my whole body as a thinking organism, and I think that the brain, the heart, and the gut, and all of those cells in the body combines as a thinking organism. So I think I view that as four thinking organisms, because you've got the heart, the brain, and the gut, and all those cells in the body combine as the fourth brain.
I agree. That kind of plays into the idea in weight training and stuff of muscle memory.
Yes,
like you get big.
that's
and then,
right.
Yeah,
Mm.
because I've noticed
So when you're weight training and pushing those weights, if you imagine your body getting stronger, you're going to give yourself another 20% muscle mass just by imagining it's working. If you just say, this is working, this is really good, this is making me strong, then you're going to get 20% more muscle mass. And that's an arbitrary figure. It might be 22%, it might be 18, it might be 25. But if you say this is working, then you're going to get more muscle mass than if you don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's worked for me. I don't know if they call it the power of positive thinking or whatever.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But if you do your weight training and you say, I don't know why I'm doing this, I just don't know why I'm bothering, you're just gonna get stronger, but you're gonna be not getting the maximum benefit from it.
Same thing like if you go to work and you're just dreading your job,
Yeah.
you're just
You're going to make yourself sick.
Yeah, exactly. Make yourself sick.
Yeah.
Worry yourself to death and all this stuff.
Yeah, but if you're in a really rotten job, like a street sweeper, but if you go to work as a street sweeper and saying, I'm really bringing benefit to the community by doing this, and that's your attitude throughout the day, you're going to be fine.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
That's right.
Why not enjoy it?
And not only that, you don't have a boss breathing down your neck. You're kind of out there by yourself.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
You could probably take a shot of whiskey or something like that. I mean, it can't be all that bad.
Yeah. 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 You might be working on a chain gang, and you're in prison because you're on the chain gang, and you can let the boss get you down, or you can keep a smile on your face all the time, and just so you don't let the boss get to you.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you know the movie? Do you know the movie Cool Hand Luke?
What we've got here is failure to communicate. Something you just can't reach.
And at the end of at the end of the movie, Cool Hand Luke stuck his face out the window and said, "What we got here," and he did it with a smile on his face. Is what we got here is a. So he died with a smile on his face, didn't he? He didn't let the boss get to him.
Mm-mm.
So, yes.
I got turned on to a book today that a lot of people in the Keegan Reed's Understanding Sasquatch group were reading, and it started talking about the elongated skulls, also the terracotta warriors, and they were trying to say it was a bunch of reptilian-like creatures.
Yeah.
And then it also started talking about the Olmec heads, those big, huge stone heads in Mexico.
Yes.
Well, it just so happens that I did 2 investigations last year. One of them was the elongated skulls in Peru, down there in Paracas, and also in Ica, and the Olmec heads in Mexico, in Jalapa, spelled with an X, Xalapa. And so Keegan might be interviewing me, but this is a very interesting book, and it is you can get it for free, and it's a PDF. So after this, I'll send you the link, and if you want to, you can check it out.
Yeah.
You know that video about the University of Colorado and the X-rays and everything they were doing on that body with the elongated skulls? That was fascinating.
I found it interesting that the skulls are in one piece because I don't know how did they manage to grow, because human skulls have, I think, three pieces, don't they, which allows the brain to grow,
Yes,
doesn't it?
I think she was actually wrong about that, or she missed, even though she misstated something. But in humans, we have the scientific name of this deal right here on your crown is actually called the front plate or the frontal plate. That's the
Yeah.
scientific name for it. And then in the back, you have the left occipital plate and the right occipital plate, and
Yeah.
they are separated by the sagittal suture, which is the big
Yes.
jigsaw-looking line that goes out down there. Well, what they don't have is a sagittal suture. So,
Yes.
as far as what I know and what I've seen personally from the skulls, they have two plates instead of three. They have a front and a back.
Okay. Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what, but I did hear her say that it was all one bone, and that kind of struck me wrong. But
Hmm.
she had a good point about they're taking all the X-rays and everything, and how it would be almost impossible to hoax something like that.
Yeah. That they do have that tribe that artificially make their skulls longer by binding their heads from on the babies, but this isn't a case of that.
Yeah, well, that's cradle boarding, and that's something that's done all over the world. And when I was in the museum or the museo in Ica, Peru, looking at the most famous elongated skull in the world, which is skull number 176, also known as the Chongo skull, after a monkey. This is a skull I've been looking at since I was a child. It's the one you've always seen for decades and decades. I was 3 inches from this skull,
Yes.
and so you're seeing all these skulls. The guards and the people that are there at the museum won't answer any questions. Let me start this thing over. So anyway, at that museum in Ica, they won't answer any questions. And they told us not to take any pictures, and they left the room for about 90 seconds, and we took at least about 10 high quality pictures, and I put them on. Actually, as a matter of fact, Keith, the video that you and I did together about remote viewing, we had some of those pictures in there. But the display that explains everything about the elongated skulls right there in the museum explains. It has a whole drawings and artwork and everything showing cradle boarding.
Yes.
So in other words, right there we're seeing the evidence, and it's definitely not cradle boarding. They're saying, oh, well, it's cradle boarding, because there's one thing that cradle boarding won't do, and that's make your skull bigger.
Yeah.
And it won't make your jawbone more robust. And
No.
it won't make the morphology of your skull different, like where you have different plates and stuff, and it won't make your eye sockets rounder, bigger, and much more shallow. You know, our eye sockets are kind of almost like little triangles.
Mm.
You know, our eye sockets aren't, they're depicted as being round, but if you look at it, they're almost like triangular. And theirs are very circular, and they're very shallow. You know, ours are sunken in deep in our head.
And it won't give you the fingers like the ones they were describing, will it?
Right. That, and you hit on the meat and potatoes right there, because all over Peru you can go see these skulls. But if you ask about the bodies, and they say, oh, well, they didn't save those because the skulls are considered sacred. In other words, like they just threw the bodies out. And after seeing this study that they did at the University of Colorado, we now see why they didn't want us to see the bodies.
Mm.
They weren't very human, were they?
Yeah. Mm.
You know, 3 fingers, 3 toes, big long things with no opposable thumb. And if this is the Homo capensis, or the secret race that's ruling the world or controls the World Bank, which I don't know that they are, but Karen Hudis and Dr. Spencer say that. But going back into the Middle Ages and stuff, we have this. And that is a sign. Rappers use this sign now, either for the Crips or the Bloods, I'm not sure. I use the same sign. But it depicts like a duck's foot, but it can also be a fleur-de-lis. But basically, if you look at it, it's a 3-fingered hand.
Yes.
And so this is a very old occult symbol, and it doesn't take too much imagination to figure out where it came from. You know, they're trying to pay homage to these people, I guess.
Critters.
Yeah, critters. Creepy fucking critters. As far as I can tell, these elongated skulls people, the Paracas people, were hunted down by human beings all over the world. The ones that Miles Johnston talks about, and his friend that's a big researcher down there, Maria Wheatley, they have just recently discovered big crypt or whatever with a bunch of these bodies and long skulls in Stonehenge. And they were all run into there and then burned or something. You know, they were rounded up by the people and all killed summarily, executed. And we see the same thing in Paracas, because in Paracas, right next to Paracas, we have the Nazca lines that you can only see from the air. You know, the big bird, the big monkey, and all that stuff. Well, I was down there in Nazca, and I visited it, and while we didn't go up in a plane, they had these huge observatory towers that you can climb the stairs in and look down on them, and we were doing that. But these are called the Nazca Lines, and they're named after the Nazca people, which was a real people that lived back then. What they didn't tell you, or what they don't know, is that all of these Nazca Lines were probably made by the Paracas people, which is the elongated skulls people, and the Nazca people slaughtered the Paracas people. You know, so after the Paracas people made the big lines in Nazca, the Nazca people moved in and started slaughtering them, so the Paracas people moved to Paracas, and then they were followed there and summarily hunted down there as well.
I wonder why they killed them all.
They're just freakish, and I think for the same reason that we killed giants, because although they're not giants, I think they were exceedingly tall, maybe 7 to 8 feet tall.
It's funny you say, talking about giants. I had a dream last night about a giant. What was that about? I just remembered it. Dreaming about a giant. Must have been about 10 feet tall. It was a really weird dream.
What happened? Was he chasing you?
No, he wasn't chasing me. It just occurred to me, he was a really tall guy, and he was being looked after by a relative, and he was disabled in some way. I remember he was about 10 or maybe 15 feet tall, and he had a deformed mouth. He had this really big mouth, strange mouth, and he had a really big head. And his relative was having to feed him with handfuls of food, and he was actually putting the whole of his hand into the guy's mouth, all the way in, and pushing the food down the back of his throat. That's what I can remember of it. It was really strange.
Yeah, that is strange, and it seems like he'd be worried that he'd get his hand chewed off.
No, it was really odd. And the guy couldn't, as far as I remember, he couldn't talk properly because his mouth was deformed in some way. It was really strange.
That is a weird dream.
Yeah. I think he was Indian or something, this really tall guy. It's very odd.
Did he have brown skin?
I can't remember the colour of the skin. It was a very odd dream. I can't remember the stuff that was around it, but I can remember there was this really tall dude in the dream.
Did you do a radio show last week? Tuesday?
I didn't do one last Tuesday. I didn't have a guest, but I'm doing one tomorrow with Sarah Pugh, who's a PhD in bioengineering and genetics. But she's also a hypnotherapist, and she does Pilates. I haven't got a clue what Pilates is, but she does it. Some kind of exercise, isn't it?
Yeah. It's kind of like a Jane
But
Fonda.
earlier on, we were talking about the mind. You mentioned the name of some guy who does something. I can't quite. And I latched onto it, and I'd not heard of it before, and I was going to look it up. And I can't remember what it was now. I was going to. You any idea what I'm talking about? You said the name of some guy.
Dr. John Lilly, the
Oh,
creator
that
of
was
the
it. The
Lilly
Lily
Wave.
Wave.
Yeah.
What is the Lily Wave? I was going to look it up.
Yeah, the Lilly Wave is a biphasic wave that's used to entrain the brain, and it's an ultra low or extremely low frequency wave that they found out can control the mind, but it was damaging to the mind and the brain. It could also be used as a weapon, but he's the one who came up and made it biphasic so that it's
psychotronic warfare.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, speaking about waves, I've been looking up a lot yesterday of the fires in California, which are all of them obviously being caused by oh, the word's gone out of my mind now.
Directed energy weapons. Directed energy weapons.
Yes.
And probably maybe even scalar weapons as well.
Scalar weapon.
Yeah.
What directed energy weapons, that is scalar, isn't it?
I believe it is. It's a different type of physics altogether that they don't teach in college.
Yes, and it's been around with Tesla for a long time.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. And it brought the World Trade Center down.
Yes,
that was obvious to me as soon as it came down. I was looking yesterday at underneath the World Trade Center, underneath the basin. You know what I mean by the basin?
Yes, I do.
That's the bathtub. It's called actually, not the bathtub. Underneath the bathtub, where the towers came down, 500 million tons, the two towers, underneath the basin, the trains underneath were not damaged. Now you'd imagine with all that rubble coming down, the trains would have been crushed, wouldn't you? But no, they weren't.
Because the whole building was turned to dust in front of everybody's eyes.
That's right, because it never hit the ground.
Yeah, it was vaporized before it hit the ground. And that's why they were in such a hurry to get rid of the evidence. They cleaned up that 911. They cleaned that up quick.
Yes, they did.
And the jet that we see flying into the building, you can just tell by looking at it. A jet wouldn't do that. It wouldn't just disappear into a building.
That was a hologram. I mean, even John was saying that was just a hologram.
Yeah, that was the blue beam weapon. Let me change the camera.
Yes.
It's that blue beam weapon that they've had for quite a while, and supposedly even used against Castro in Cuba in the early 70s or something, where the CIA projected an image of the Virgin Mary, supposedly, or they were planning to. I don't know if it went down or not.
Well, the holograms are so sophisticated and have been for so long that even I wouldn't at all doubt that when we look at the moon, what we're seeing on the surface of the moon is just a hologram. There's all kinds of shit going on underneath that hologram that we wouldn't believe.
That's what it is. There's a guy named Crow 777. Have you heard of it? Him?
No.
He has a YouTube channel, but he's the guy who first filmed the lunar wave. In other words, your television has a refresh rate. There's a line that goes up at, the moon has a refresh rate. And it comes on the equinoxes and stuff like that. It only comes like maybe 4 times a year. And you have to have very specialty lenses and cameras and everything to catch it. But since he discovered it and spread the news throughout the world, people all over the world have been looking into this. And he's found a lot of other things since then And I mean, it could be that the moon altogether is not even real. It's just a projection. I mean, that's probably not true. It's probably real, but I think you're absolutely right. They're projecting an image on top of it.
Oh, I've got it. CRROW777.
Did you find it?
Yeah. Crow 777 channel on YouTube was terminated on 11th 19th due to a lunar wave clip. Freedom of speech is dying. 4 years of non-stop telescopic observation were destroyed by YouTube and made unavailable to the world at large. Digital darkness is here. Yeah, I discovered something about Facebook today. Even if you're not on Facebook, Facebook are spying on you.
How's that?
Because they look at everything that's happening on the internet, even if you're not on Facebook.
Oh, yeah, and Google does that too. It's really Google that does it, and they just get their information from Google. But, you know, this deal about artificial intelligence, that's already here.
Oh, I know. It's been here for a long, long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Let me set this alarm for the camera over there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, I've been looking into artificial intelligence for a number of years over the internet. And years ago, I went into looking at AI bots on the internet, and you can chat to them. And that was very interesting. And more recently, I've looked at artificial intelligence bots on the internet and chatted to them. And what I've noticed is that when I look at them today, the conversation I get from them is less intelligent than years ago. And that tells me that they're dumbing them down today. And that's a smokescreen, because you would think that over the years that they would get more intelligent, wouldn't you? So what they've done, it tells me obviously that the AI has got more advanced, but they don't want you to know that, so they're dumbing it down.
Yeah, or they're making it, you know, as far as our conversations with it, they're making it. And it also might possibly have to do with the fact that more people are conversing with these bots, and so they don't really want to let the cat out of the bag. I don't know. I mean, I can only speculate.
Because years ago I started chatting online with AI bots because they wanted you to know what it was like. And as you chatted with them, they were gradually getting better because they wanted you to chat with them to make it more intelligent, and it gradually did. But now, and I've done that over the years. I've done it from time to time. But now, when you chat with them, the chat you get is complete garbage, and that tells me that they've had their fun and they've got what they wanted. But now, when you chat to them, it's complete nonsense. And that tells me that they don't want you to realise how advanced they are. So the AI that they've got now is immensely superior to anything they want you to realise.
Yeah.
And that's happened because we've all been chatting online, in Facebook, in YouTube, in Google, and by all that chatter's been analysed, and they've become immensely superior and very intelligent. Because all that chatter that we've all been doing with each other hasn't been wasted.
No, it hasn't. Not at all. And they can use logistics and stuff like that. They know where you're going to go before you go there. They know when you're going to go to the store. They know when you're going to feed your dog.
No, but it's been analysed to help to make the AI bots become intelligent.
Yeah.
It's not just so they know where we're going. It's to help the AI bots learn to become conscious.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And you know, this black goo, there's some connection between the black goo and the AI. What do you know about the black goo?
Well, I don't know much except that they brought it into England. It's in England somewhere.
Who brought it there?
When they went down to the Falklands War, that was all bullshit. That was just to go there to get the black goo.
Yeah, to fight the Argentinians for it.
Yes.
That's exactly what it was. And then supposedly, according to Miles Johnston, 25 of the Marconi scientists were killed by the black goo.
Yes.
Messing with it. So it's some dangerous shit.
Yeah. They didn't take it seriously, did they? It's just like the old. It's just like the movies that we've had over the years, the science fiction movies we've had over the years, have been telling us about the black goo since the 1950s. There was a movie I remember when I was a kid called The Blob.
Yeah, The Blob. I remember The Blob. It was a big red blob.
Yeah. And it would eat people and burn them up and it would creep about and stuff. And there was another movie called Quatermass and the Pit, which is another very similar movie. And there was another video called by Quatermass, and I can't remember. There was a whole series of videos called Quatermass There was a series of 4 science fiction movies by Quatermass, and they were really scary. They terrified me when I was a kid, and they all related to the black goo. And so they knew about this black goo for a long, long time, I think.
They really did.
Well, they must have known, because somebody had to dig that underground facility, didn't they? It didn't get there overnight, did it? Somebody dug that hole, and how did it get in there? Who put it in there?
Exactly.
It's been there a long time, hasn't it?
Yeah, and let me tell you, it gets even wilder than that, Keith. We have evidence or indications that the black goo was around during medieval times.
Yeah.
And that the ultimate form of black sorcery, necromancy or whatever, black magic,
yes,
was interfacing with this black goo. And,
yes.
And so what we're now starting to realize, the black goo is actually the first internet.
Yeah.
You'd be a Merlin over there in your country, and I'd be a Merlin over here in my country, and we'd bathe in the black goo, and we could start having sentient conversations with one another. I could tell you the movements of the enemy or something like that.
Yes.
And the black goo has even been depicted on ancient Roman coins.
Yes.
So yeah, it is, in my opinion, and that I've never heard that before. I came up with that idea myself. I'm sure other people have had it. That the black goo is the original internet.
Yeah.
And if it's a sentient oil, it's like Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yes.
And John Lamb Lash wrote the book Not in His Image, and through the Coptic letters, and the archons and this artificial intelligence, and there's Greek words for this. But guess what the symbols are that symbolize this artificial intelligence that the Gnostics talked about 2,000 years ago? H, capital A, capital L. Hal.
Yes.
You can believe that shit.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah, so it's like, 2001: A Space Odyssey, there's a lot more realism to it, than we might have thought.
Well, they're giving us hints in all the movies all the time, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that movies are more important than armies. The movies is how they program us, but not only that, they program us to join the army.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't want television, and I don't want to watch movies, because they're dangerous things.
They really are, and I don't own a television just like you. I don't own a television, and I rarely watch movies myself. Now, as you know, my girlfriend, who I'm fixing to lose, not because we're not getting along, but she's fixing to go do a shoot in Hollywood. She's a Hollywood director, and so I find it quite fascinating that she's worked on movies that everyone's heard of, that are very wildly popular movies that help shape our culture and stuff. Not as a director, but I think as a costume designer, more or less. Anyway, it's fascinating.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think movies are very dangerous because they shape our thinking.
Yeah, yeah, they really do. I mean, it's the ultimate form of mind control. You don't need a lily wave if you can just put these plays on film in front of people.
Hmm. I think I think that we need to develop this. If all the people on this planet were to come together in unison and focus our mind on the same thoughts, there would be more power at play than all the atomic bombs in the world.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, the psychic power of the collective of the human being, the race of the human being, far surpasses the power of 100, ICBMs or whatever.
Yeah,
I agree.
but at the moment they're generating a lot of fear throughout the world. That's why we're all having war everywhere. It's generating through propaganda. They're generating a lot of fear. So all the people in the world, millions of people, are using our brain to worry and to have fear, and that's creating a lot of negative energy around this planet. And all of that negative energy is perpetuating the very thing that we don't want, or I certainly don't want to have all the wars and famine and starvation and sickness and evil that's going on in this planet.
Yeah,
And that's being perpetuated by all the negative thinking that most of the planet is doing, isn't it?
it really
And that
is.
is perpetuated by all of the movies that everybody's watching, all of the fake news that everybody's watching, all of the shootings that everybody's watching, and that's why they have things like the Las Vegas fake shooting, isn't it?
Oh yeah, all that shit was completely fake. Same thing with Sandy Hook. There was no school there. There was, that school hadn't been open for a couple of years. But yeah, there's even the guy I can't remember, Tessarian, Michael Tessarian from Ireland, even
Yeah.
proposes the idea that atomic weapons aren't even real. That the whole thing is just a hoax. And if you notice, they're called atomic weapons, and so that's
Yes.
the cult of Aton.
Yes.
Aton, same thing. And look at this shirt I'm wearing. It says Atomic Athlete.
Yes.
You
I
know,
don't think atomic weapons are real because if you watch the movie that I watched, that's that pilot guy, isn't it? Who's checked all the places where they've ever been let off. You have to let them go at a specific place on the planet at a specific time on a specific meridian. Are we talking the same language?
yeah,
Yeah, I think I've got a link to that video somewhere.
yeah. So it's a fascinating idea that atomic weapons aren't even real. And my own personal connection to that, my great uncle, George
Yeah,
Mahon, was in charge of every dime of the defense budget for the United States for 40 years. One of the very first
yes,
things he did was he authorized all the money for the Manhattan Project.
yes.
You know,
And what are all these mushroom clouds we've seen then? What are those?
well,
Is that CGI?
no, it's dynamite. At these nuclear test sites, they would have a mountain of dynamite, and there's even the old films showing them stack it up and everything. And then everyone said, "Aha, it's just dynamite. It's not an atomic weapon." They said, "Oh no, no, no! This is just to do a simulation or something." Just like in those fake shootings, it's always a drill. It's always a simulation, and then it goes
Uh-huh.
real. And they found out by doing experiments that if you get a shitload of dynamite and explode it at once, guess what it does? It makes a mushroom cloud.
Yeah.
So yeah, the whole idea of atomic weapons and the nuclear arms race and the Cold
What
War and all
about
that
the
shit,
people in Hiroshima who've been blown up though?
they could have just been blown up by regular bombs or hit with
But they
chemical.
were irradiated. You've seen the
Well, maybe they
radiation
just jumped
burns.
Agent Orange on them. I mean, one thing, their skin was coming off. What if they just put a bunch of chemical weapons on them? Like this shit sarin gas or some shit like Saddam Hussein uses. It just makes your skin peel off and all this shit. and they just said they were radiated, but their skin was just peeling off from chemicals and shit. Hell, those people wouldn't even know anyway. Who knows?
Yeah.
We're definitely hitting on some deep topics here.
Yes. Well, I think nuclear bombs are real because we have nuclear reactors and they are real.
Yeah, I agree. I think this whole idea that nuclear bombs are fake. Well, and you wouldn't even need a nuclear bomb anyway because you could use dirty bombs are way more dangerous.
Yes.
That's just regular explosives used to send radioactive waste all over the place.
Yeah.
So, really don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, but Hiroshima's real, and they're throwing 300 tons of radiated water into the Pacific every day.
Oh, now are you talking about Fukushima?
Fukushima, yes.
Yeah, I mean if that's not just the biggest, disaster that mankind has ever known, I don't know what is. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so I don't eat anything out of the ocean anymore.
Yeah, it used to be seafood was the most healthy thing you could eat.
Not now. I wouldn't even swim in the ocean now.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I mean, it's just fucking been polluted, and then with the BP oil disaster and all this shit.
Yeah. I wasn't keen on swimming in the ocean around the UK before because it's full of sewage.
Yeah. Oh, they've been sending the sewage out there for hundreds of years, probably.
The sea around the UK was polluted really badly with sewage because we pump our sewage into the ocean around here. It's really bad news. But now with radiation, I suppose at least it kills the bacteria.
Well, I guess there's a bright side to it.
Yeah. Bad news, real bad news.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Keith. We've got a solid hour and 5 minutes under our belt, and I think that'll be plenty enough for a video. Lord knows we've covered enough topics.
Yeah, it certainly has. In
closing, is there anything you want to add or talk about your services with the hypnotherapy?
Yeah, if anybody wants hypnotherapy, I can help people with anything that's troubling you, from anything from, I can stop pain, and I do mean stop pain. If you've got phobias, if you want to quit smoking, lose weight.
Gain weight? What about get strong?
Gain muscle, yeah. I can help you with your workout in the gym. I can help you quit procrastinating. Help you with loneliness. I was talking to a friend earlier on. He was telling me how bad it's going to be at Christmas because he's going to be on his own, and it's crazy to feel bad at Christmas just because you're on your own. I'm always on my own at Christmas,
Me too.
and it just doesn't trouble me a bit.
It doesn't bother me at all, and I hadn't bought a Christmas gift in years, and it doesn't even bother me at all.
Mm-hmm. And I've spent years and years and years on my own at Christmas, and as I said to my friend, why feel bad when life is good?
That's right. It's a choice. It's a choice your friend is making to feel bad.
You took my next line right off my lips. Feeling bad is a choice. You don't need to feel bad because if you're healthy, why feel bad?
That's absolutely correct.
And to take the words out of the name's gone out of my mind now. Richard Bandler, the inventor of NLP. Why would you choose to feel like shit? That
exactly.
was words of Richard Bandler. How long do you want to feel like shit? That's exactly the kind of language he uses.
Yeah.
And when you want to stop feeling like shit, he doesn't take prisoners, Richard Bandler. So why would you choose to feel like shit? And that makes a lot of sense to me.
It really does.
So
Keith, let me ask you this. What's the best way for people to contact you if they're wanting to procure your services?
Well, if you Google HypnoSensei, you'll probably find me. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/HypnoSensei. You can find me on my website, which is hypnosensei.co.uk or hypnosensei.com. You can phone me on my UK number, which is 0208 So if you're phoning from the USA, you need to use 44 208 You can Skype me on Keithanthony 0169. Do please specify that you're interested in hypnosis. Otherwise, I won't accept the contact, because I get a lot of people who just want to idly chat, and that's no good to me or you.
Yeah.
So Keithanthony 0169 is my Skype, and there you have it.
Well, that's awesome. There you go.
Me somewhere.
Awesome. Well, Keith, thanks for having this visit with me, and I want to get that link from you after we get off the phone here, and we'll talk to you later. All right?
Okay, fabulous. Been great.
Bye, y'all.
And listen to my show tomorrow as well, by the way.
Where do they listen to your show at?
My show will be at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that's 3:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, London, and that's at RulerBrownNetwork.com. That's RulerBrown.net. RulerBrownNetwork.com.
RulerBrownNetwork.com.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Keith. Peace out.
Thanks very much. Bye for now.
Bye.